The stars looked different now. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship, watching the darkness of space. For 3 years he had been waiting for this day. The day when Earth would face its greatest enemy. The alien ships appeared first as tiny dots of light. Then more dots, then hundreds more. Jake counted them on his screen until the numbers became too big to believe. 9,900 enemy ships were moving toward Earth, the biggest war fleet anyone had ever seen. "Sir, they are sending U.S. a message," said Lieutenant Kate Sullivan. She was young but smart. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. "The alien leader wants to talk," Jake nodded. He had expected this. The aliens always wanted to talk before they killed you. It made them feel better about themselves. The screen flickered and showed a tall, thin alien with gray skin and black eyes. The creature wore a golden uniform covered in strange symbols. When it spoke, its voice was cold and empty. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Hegemony. Your species has become a problem. You travel to worlds that do not belong to you. You ask questions that should not be asked. You refuse to follow our rules." Jake listened without saying anything. He had heard these words before from other alien leaders. They all sounded the same. Double quotes, "We give you one choice," Commander Vex continued. "Surrender now, and we will make your death quick. Fight us, and we will make your world burn for 1,000 years. You have 72 hours to decide." The screen went black. Jake stood in silence for a long moment. Kate watched him, waiting for orders. "Get me Commander Carter," Jake said finally. "Tell him we need to meet right away." 20 minutes later, Jake was sitting in the war room of Earth's main space station. Around the table were the best military minds that humanity had to offer. Commander Alex Carter sat at the head of the table. He was older than Jake, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting aliens for 10 years. "The numbers are not good," Carter said, looking at the reports in front of him. "They have 9,900 ships. We have 847. Most of our ships are small patrol boats and cargo ships with guns stuck on them." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks was the smartest person in the room. She had studied alien fighting methods for years. Her computer showed pictures of the enemy ships arranged in perfect lines. "They fight like they always fight," Lisa said. "Big ships in front, small ships in back. They follow the same rules that have worked for them for 3,000 years. They have never lost a battle." Captain Rick Davis laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Maybe they have never fought humans before. What do you mean?" Carter asked. Rick leaned forward. "Look at their formation. They expect us to line up and fight them ship to ship. They expect us to follow their rules. But we do not know their rules. We never learned how space battles are supposed to work." Lisa understood first. Her eyes went wide. "You want to fight dirty. I want to fight like humans," Rick said. "When humans fight, we use everything we have. We do not worry about being fair or following rules. We just try to win." Carter looked around the table. "What are you thinking?" Lisa pulled up new pictures on her screen. "Their ships are big and slow. They stay far apart because that is how civilized species fight. But what if we get close? What if we ram them?" "Ram them?" Carter asked. "That would be suicide." "Maybe," Rick said. "But one human ship crashing into their biggest ship might do more damage than 10 human ships shooting at it from far away." Jake had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke. "They think we are weak because we are young. They think we will be scared and give up. They do not understand that humans get angry when someone threatens their home." Colonel Amy Peterson had been listening from the corner of the room. She was the leader of Earth's fighter pilots. "My pilots are ready to try anything. We have been training for this fight our whole lives." Carter looked at each person around the table. These were good people, brave people, But they were about to fight an enemy that had conquered 47 star systems, an enemy that had never lost a war. "If we do this," Carter said slowly, "most of our ships will be destroyed. Most of our people will die." "Yes," Jake said. "But some of us might survive. And if some of us survive, then Earth survives." Lisa was working on her computer again. She had found something interesting in the enemy communications. "I think I know how their ships talk to each other. They use something called quantum entanglement. All their ships are connected like parts of one big brain." "What does that mean?" Carter asked. "It means they coordinate perfectly. They never get confused or make mistakes. But it also means they might have a weakness. If we can break their connection, their whole fleet might fall apart." Rick grinned. "Now that sounds like something we can use." Carter stood up. "All right. We have 72 hours to get ready. Rick, I want you to pick the ships that are fast enough for ramming attacks. Amy, your fighters need to find ways to get inside their formation. Lisa, keep working on their communication system. Jake, you and I need to talk to every ship captain we have." The meeting ended and people began to leave. Carter stopped Jake at the door. "Do you really think we can win?" Carter asked. Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, 9,900 alien ships were getting ready to destroy everything he loved. "I do not know if we can win," Jake said. "But I know we are going to fight. And when humans fight for their homes, strange things can happen." The next 3 days passed quickly. Engineers worked day and night to put bigger guns on cargo ships. Pilots practiced new attack patterns that no alien had ever seen before. Scientists tried to understand alien technology with only hours to learn. Children were moved to underground shelters. Families said goodbye to fathers and mothers who might never come home. The news told everyone to stay calm, but nobody was calm. Everyone knew that in a few hours, the greatest battle in human history would begin. Jake spent his last night on Earth with his wife and daughter. They did not talk about the battle. They just sat together and watched old movies and ate ice cream. His daughter fell asleep in his arms, and Jake held her until it was time to go. When he returned to his ship, Kate was waiting with the final reports. "All ships are ready, sir. The enemy fleet will be in range in 6 hours. Jake looked at the tactical display one more time. 847 human ships against 9,900 alien ships. The worst odds in military history. "Send a message to all ships," Jake said. "Tell them that today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of humans to exist in this galaxy. Tell them that win or lose, we will show these aliens what it means to threaten humanity." As the message went out to every human ship in the fleet, Jake could feel something changing. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now. Anger, determination, pride. The aliens were about to learn that conquering Earth would not be as easy as they thought. They were about to discover that humans had something there advanced technology could not match. They were about to find out what happened when you threatened a species that had climbed to the top of the food chain on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The alarm bells rang through every human ship at exactly 6 in the morning. The alien fleet had arrived. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the enemy approach on his screen. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, like a deadly parade across the stars. "They are beautiful," Kate Sullivan said quietly. She was right. The alien ships gleamed like silver jewels against the black of space. Each one was perfectly designed, built by a civilization that had mastered space travel for thousands of years. Beautiful. "Things can still kill you," Jake replied. He pressed a button and spoke to every human ship in the fleet. "This is Admiral Morrison. The enemy is here. Remember what we talked about. Do not fight like they expect you to fight. Fight like humans. The alien fleet spread out in their traditional battle formation. The biggest ships formed a line in front, like a wall of metal and weapons. Medium-sized ships formed a second line. Behind them, the smallest ships stayed in the back, ready to chase down any human ships that tried to run away. Commander Vex sent another message to the human fleet. His gray face appeared on screens throughout the human ships. "You have chosen death," he said. "We will show you why no species has ever defeated the galactic hegemony." Jake did not answer. He had nothing to say to Commander Vex. Instead, he opened a channel to Captain Rick Davis, who was commanding a group of fast attack ships. "Rick, are you ready?" Jake asked. "Ready as we will ever be," Rick answered. His voice sounded calm, but Jake could hear the fear underneath. Rick was afraid, but he was going to fight anyway. That was what made him human. "Good luck," Jake said. "See you on the other side, Admiral." The battle began when the alien ships fired their first weapons. Bright beams of energy shot across space toward the human fleet. The beams were so powerful, they could cut a human ship in half with one hit. But the human ships were not where the aliens expected them to be. Instead of forming a line to fight the aliens in the traditional way, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some went up, some went down, some went left and right. The alien weapons missed most of their targets because they had been aimed at where the humans should have been, not where they actually were. "Now!" Rick shouted into his radio. His group of ships suddenly turned and flew straight at the alien formation. The aliens saw them coming and turned their weapons toward the attacking ships. But Rick's ships were small and fast. They twisted and turned as they flew, making themselves hard to hit. 3 of Rick's ships were destroyed before they reached the alien line. Their crews died in balls of fire that lit up the darkness. But the other ships made it through. Rick's ship, the Vengeance, crashed into the side of a huge alien battleship. The impact was tremendous. Both ships exploded, killing everyone on board. But the alien battleship had been the command ship for that section of the enemy fleet. When it died, 50 other alien ships lost their orders and began to move in circles. Confused and blind, Colonel Amy Peterson was watching the battle from her fighter ship. She commanded 300 small fighter craft, each one carrying 2 people and enough weapons to damage a much larger ship. "All fighters, this is Colonel Peterson," she said into her radio. "You see what Captain Davis just did. We are going to do the same thing, but we are going to be smarter about it." Amy's fighters were too small for the alien ships to hit easily, but they were also too small to do much damage with their weapons. So Amy had come up with a different plan. Her fighters flew in groups of 10, weaving between the giant alien ships like insects flying around sleeping giants. The aliens tried to hit them with their big weapons, but the fighters were too small and too fast. What the aliens did not realize was that Amy's fighters were not trying to damage the alien ships with their weapons. Instead, they were attaching small bombs to the alien ships' hulls. The bombs were not big enough to destroy the alien ships, but they were placed in exactly the right spots to damage important systems. 20 minutes after the battle began, alien ships throughout the fleet began to lose power. Their weapons stopped working, their engines failed, their communication systems went dead. The aliens found themselves flying blind, unable to coordinate their attacks, but the humans were paying a terrible price for their victories. Ship after ship was being destroyed by alien weapons. The space around Earth was filled with burning wreckage and the bodies of brave human soldiers. Jake's ship, the Defiance, was hit by 3 alien beams at the same time. The impact threw everyone on the bridge to the floor. Smoke filled the air, and sparks flew from broken equipment. "Damage report," Jake shouted. "Hull breached in 17 places," Kate called back. "We have lost main power. Life support is failing." "Can we still fight?" "For now, yes, sir." Jake looked at his tactical display. The human fleet had started with 847 ships. Now only 231 were still fighting. They had destroyed or damaged over 300 alien ships. But the aliens still had thousands left. It was then that Kate made her discovery. She had been monitoring alien communications throughout the battle, trying to understand how they coordinated their attacks. What she found was incredible. "Admiral," she said, her voice filled with excitement, "I think I know how their fleet works. All their ships are connected to a central computer. They do not think for themselves. They all follow orders from one main ship." Jake looked at the tactical display with new eyes. "Which ship?" Kate pointed to a massive vessel in the center of the alien formation. It was 3 times larger than any other ship in their fleet. "That one. They call it the Eternal Dominion. If we can destroy it, their whole fleet might fall apart." Jake studied the alien formation. The Eternal Dominion was surrounded by hundreds of smaller ships, all protecting it from attack. Getting close to it would be almost impossible. Almost impossible was different from impossible. Jake opened a channel to all remaining human ships. "This is Admiral Morrison. We have found the enemy's weakness. All ships form up on my position. We are going to attack their command ship." The response came back immediately from ship after ship. "Roger, Admiral. On our way. Ready to follow you anywhere." The surviving human ships began to move toward Jake's position. Many of them were damaged. Some were leaking air. Others had lost most of their weapons. But they all came anyway. Commander Alex Carter's ship, the Liberty, had lost its engines and was drifting helplessly through space. But Carter was not done fighting. He ordered his crew to arm the self-destruct system and use the ship's emergency thrusters to ram the nearest alien vessel. "It has been an honor serving with you all," Carter said over the radio. A few minutes later, the Liberty exploded against the side of an alien cruiser, taking both ships out of the battle. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks had been working frantically at her computer station throughout the battle. She had been analyzing the alien communication system, trying to find a way to disrupt it. "Admiral," she called to Jake, "I think I can build a weapon that will shut down their network. But it has to be delivered right to their command ship. Someone has to get inside their shields and detonate it manually." Jake understood what she was saying. "It was a suicide mission. How long do you need to build it?" he asked. 20 minutes, maybe less." "Do it." As Lisa worked on her weapon, the battle continued to rage around them. Human ships continued to fall, but they were taking alien ships with them. The aliens had expected an easy victory, but they were learning that humans did not give up easily. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of twisted metal and broken dreams, but the humans kept fighting. They fought for their families. They fought for their world. They fought because giving up was not in their nature. The final phase of the battle was about to begin. The weapon was ready. Lisa Brooks held the small device in her hands like it was made of glass. It looked simple, just a metal box with blinking lights, but it contained the hopes of all humanity. "This will shut down their network," she explained to Jake, "but it has to be detonated inside their command ship. The person who carries it will not come back." Jake looked around his bridge. Only 68 human ships were still fighting. The rest were either destroyed or too damaged to continue. The alien fleet still had over 8,000 ships left. The numbers were impossible, but humans had always done impossible things. "I need a volunteer," Jake announced over the radio to all remaining ships. The response was immediate. Every single ship captain volunteered. They all wanted to carry the weapon into the heart of the enemy fleet. They all wanted to be the one to save Earth. Jake felt proud and sad at the same time. These were the best people humanity had to offer. And most of them were going to die today. Captain Dan Phillips spoke first. "Admiral, my ship is already heavily damaged. Let me take the weapon. The Intrepid can still fly and fight." "No," said Captain Maria Santos from her small stealth ship, the Shadow. "My ship is the only one that might be able to sneak past their defenses. This is what stealth ships are made for." Jake looked at the tactical display. Maria was right. Her ship was small and had special technology that made it hard to detect. If anyone could get close to the Eternal Dominion, it would be her. "Maria, are you sure about this?" Jake asked. "I have a daughter on Earth," Maria replied. "She is 7 years old. Her name is Carmen. I promised her that Mommy would always protect her. This is how I keep that promise." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "Transfer the weapon to Captain Santos. All other ships we are going to create a distraction. We need to draw their attention away from the Shadow." The plan was simple but deadly. The remaining human ships would attack the alien fleet from all sides, making as much noise and destruction as possible. While the aliens were busy fighting them, Maria would sneak her ship through the chaos and into the enemy command vessel. Captain Dan Phillips took command of the attack. His ship, the Intrepid, had lost most of its armor and half of its weapons, but it could still fly. "All ships follow me. We are going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten our home." The human ships charged toward the alien formation like angry wasps attacking a giant. They fired every weapon they had and flew in crazy patterns. That made no sense to the alien commanders. The aliens had to respond to the attack, turning their weapons away from the center of their formation to deal with the human ships. Captain Bob Turner's ship exploded when 3 alien beams hit it at the same time. He had been flying straight at an alien battleship, trying to ram it. His sacrifice allowed 2 other human ships to get close enough to damage the alien vessel's engines. Lieutenant Commander Susan Clark managed to destroy an entire group of alien fighters by flying her damaged ship directly into their formation. Her ship's reactor exploded, creating a ball of fire that consumed 20 enemy vessels. The aliens were confused by the human attacks. They had never fought an enemy that seemed to enjoy flying into certain death. Their computer systems could not predict what the humans would do next because the humans were not following any logical plan. They were just fighting with pure desperation and rage. While the battle raged around her, Maria Santos guided her stealth ship through the wreckage and explosions. The Shadow was so small that the alien sensors barely noticed it. When they did detect something, they thought it was just another piece of debris from the destroyed ships. Maria watched her friends die on her radar screen. Every few seconds, another human ship disappeared from the display. Each loss was a person she had known, someone who had family and dreams and fears just like her. "I will not let you die for nothing," she whispered to herself. The Eternal Dominion was even bigger up close than it had looked on the tactical display. It was like a metal mountain floating in space, covered with weapons and communication equipment. Maria could see thousands of windows glowing with alien lights. Somewhere inside that massive ship was the computer that controlled the entire enemy fleet. Getting inside would be almost impossible. The alien ship had shields that would destroy anything that tried to pass through them. It had weapons that could track and kill small targets. It had sensors that could detect even stealth ships if they got too close. But Maria had been thinking about this problem during her approach. She had noticed something about the alien ship that might help her. The Eternal Dominion had launch bays where smaller ships could enter and exit. Right now, those bays were busy with alien fighters going out to join the battle. Maria waited until a group of alien fighters was returning to their ship. Then she positioned her ship directly behind them, matching their speed and direction. To the alien sensors, it would look like she was part of the returning group. The plan worked. Maria's ship followed the alien fighters through the shield and into the launch bay of the Eternal Dominion. The moment she was inside, she cut her engines and let her ship drift into a dark corner of the massive hangar. Alien creatures were everywhere, servicing their fighters and preparing new weapons. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large, black eyes. Maria had never seen a living alien before. They moved differently than humans, more smoothly, like they were floating rather than walking. Maria put on her spacesuit and checked the weapon one more time. Lisa had explained exactly where she needed to place it. The network control center was deep inside the ship, protected by multiple layers of security. Maria would have to fight her way through alien guards and locked doors to reach it. She also knew that once she activated the weapon, she would have only minutes to escape before it exploded. The chances of getting out alive were very small. Maria thought about her daughter Carmen one more time. She remembered the little girl's laugh and the way she hugged her mother before bedtime. Carmen would grow up without her mother, but she would grow up free. "For you, baby," Maria whispered. Then she opened the hatch of her ship and stepped into the alien vessel. The corridors of the Eternal Dominion were like nothing Maria had ever seen. The walls curved in strange ways, and the lights had an odd color that hurt her eyes. Everything was built for creatures taller than humans, so Maria felt like a child walking through a world made for giants. She moved carefully, staying in the shadows and avoiding the main passages where aliens were walking. Her spacesuit had a small computer that helped her navigate through the maze-like ship. The network control center was 12 levels down and 3 kilometers away from the launch bay. Maria had gone about half the distance when she encountered her first alien guard. The creature was standing in front of a door that led to the lower levels. It was carrying a weapon that looked like a crystal rod with electricity running through it. Maria knew she could not sneak past the guard. She would have to fight it. But she had never fought an alien before. She did not know how strong they were or how fast they could move. The alien guard noticed her just as she was trying to hide behind a corner. It made a sound like a bird chirping and raised its weapon. Maria did not have time to think. She just reacted the way humans always react when they are in danger. She attacked. Maria ran straight at the alien guard, moving faster than it expected. The alien fired its weapon, but the beam passed over Maria's head because she was shorter than it had anticipated. Before the alien could fire again, Maria tackled it around the legs. They both fell to the floor. The alien was stronger than Maria, but she was more desperate. She fought with the fury of a mother defending her child. She grabbed the alien's weapon and turned it against its owner. The fight was over in seconds. Maria stood up, breathing hard, holding the alien weapon in her shaking hands. She had never killed anyone before, not even an enemy. But she did not have time to feel guilty or scared. The network control center was still 8 levels away, and alarms were starting to sound throughout the ship. The aliens knew there was an intruder on board. Soon, hundreds of guards would be looking for her. Maria started running toward the center of the ship, carrying the weapon that would either save humanity or die with her in the attempt. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of alien voices calling to each other as they began their search. The final race had begun. Maria ran through the alien corridors as fast as she could. The alarm sounds were getting louder, and she could hear alien voices echoing through the ship. They were looking for her, and they were getting closer. The corridors seemed to go on forever. Every turn looked the same, and Maria began to worry that she was lost. The computer on her suit was supposed to guide her to the network control center, but the alien ship was so big that the computer kept changing the route. She reached a large room filled with strange machines. Aliens were working at control stations, their long fingers dancing over surfaces that glowed with different colors. Maria tried to sneak around the edge of the room, but one of the aliens saw her. The alien made a loud whistling sound. Immediately, all the other aliens in the room turned to look at Maria. They started moving toward her, but they moved slowly, like they had never seen a human before, and were curious rather than afraid. Maria did not wait to find out what they wanted. She ran across the room as fast as she could, jumping over alien equipment and dodging between the tall creatures. Some of them tried to grab her, but humans were faster and more agile than they expected. She made it to the other side of the room and found a door that led to a stairway going down. Maria ran down the stairs 3 steps at a time, her heart beating so fast she thought it might explode. Behind her, she could hear more alien voices. They were calling to each other in their strange language. Maria could not understand the words, but she could hear the urgency in their voices. They knew she was dangerous now. The stairway ended at another corridor. This one was darker than the others, with red lights that made everything look like it was covered in blood. Maria checked her suit's computer. She was getting close to the NETWORK control center. Only 3 more levels to go. She found another stairway and continued down. The aliens were following her, but they were not fast enough to catch up. Maria realized that the aliens had never had to chase anyone through their own ship before. They were not prepared for this kind of emergency. The next level was different from the others. Instead of smooth walls and curved corridors, this level looked more like a fortress. There were thick doors with heavy locks and guards standing at every entrance. Maria knew she was getting close to something important. She hid behind a corner and watched the alien guards. There were 6 of them, all carrying the same kind of energy weapons that she had seen before. They were standing in front of a door that had strange symbols carved into it. Maria's computer told her that the network control center was behind that door. She looked at the weapon in her hands. It was just a small metal box, but it contained enough power to shut down the communications of an entire fleet. Lisa had built it using parts from human and alien technology. It was the most important device in the galaxy right now, but first, Maria had to get past 6 armed guards. She thought about her daughter Carmen again. The little girl would be in the underground shelter now, probably scared and wondering where her mother was. Maria had promised to come home, but she had also promised to protect her. Sometimes, protecting the people you love meant breaking other promises. Maria took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the corner. "Hey!" she shouted at the guards in English. They all turned to look at her, surprised by the strange sound of her voice. Maria threw the alien weapon she had taken from the first guard. It clattered across the floor, drawing the attention of 3 of the guards. While they were distracted, Maria ran toward the other 3 guards. The aliens fired their weapons, but Maria was small and fast. She rolled under their energy beams and tackled the nearest guard. They fell to the ground together, wrestling for control of the guard's weapon. The other guards were trying to get a clear shot at Maria, but they were afraid of hitting their friend. This gave Maria the few seconds she needed to grab the fallen guard's weapon and turn it on the others. The fight was brief but violent. Maria had learned something important about the aliens during her first encounter with the guard. They were strong, but they were not used to fighting. They had conquered so many worlds that they had forgotten what it was like to face an enemy who fought back with desperation. When the fight was over, all 6 guards were dead and Maria was injured. She had burns on her arms from alien weapons and cuts on her face from falling against their equipment. But she was alive, and the door to the network control center was open. Maria limped through the door and found herself in the most amazing room she had ever seen. The network control center was huge, with walls that stretched up so high she could not see the ceiling. The walls were covered with screens showing pictures from all over the galaxy. In the center of the room was a massive computer that hummed with power. This was the brain of the alien fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every decision was controlled from this room. Maria could see screens showing the battle outside. Human ships were still fighting, but there were only 17 left now. 17 ships against thousands of aliens. Maria walked to the center of the room where the main computer was located. It was even bigger up close, a tower of metal and crystal that pulsed with energy. Cables as thick as her body connected it to other machines throughout the room. She found the exact spot where Lisa had told her to place the weapon. It was a panel near the base of the main computer, where all the communication cables came together. Maria opened the panel and saw a maze of alien technology that she did not understand. But she did not need to understand it. She just needed to place the weapon in the right spot and activate it. Maria attached the weapon to the alien circuits exactly as Lisa had shown her. The device beeped once to show that it was connected properly. Now all she had to do was enter the activation code and the weapon would explode, sending an electromagnetic pulse through the entire alien network. Before she entered the code, Maria opened her radio one last time. She wanted to say goodbye to the brave humans who were still fighting outside. "This is Captain Santos to all human ships," she said into her radio. "I am in position. The weapon is ready." Jake's voice came back immediately. "Maria, is there any way for you to escape?" Maria looked around the room. She could hear alien voices in the corridor outside. They had found the dead guards, and they knew where she was. Soon, hundreds of them would come through that door, even if she could fight. Her way out, the weapon would explode in just 2 minutes. There was no way she could get far enough away to survive the blast. "No," she said simply, "but that is okay. Tell my daughter that Mommy kept her promise. Tell her that Mommy helped save the world." "We will tell her," Jake said. His voice was thick with emotion. "We will make sure she knows what a hero her mother was." Maria smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Thank you, Admiral. It has been an honor fighting beside you." She entered the activation code. The weapon beeped 3 times and then began counting down. 2 minutes until detonation. Maria sat down on the floor next to the alien computer and closed her eyes. She thought about Carmen's laugh and the way the little girl always wanted just one more story before bedtime. She thought about sunny days in the park and ice cream cones, and all the simple things that made life worth living. The countdown reached 30 seconds. The alien voices in the corridor were getting louder. They were almost at the door. 20 seconds. Maria could hear them breaking through the entrance to the control room. 10 seconds. The aliens burst through the door, their weapons raised and ready to fire. 5 seconds. Maria opened her eyes and looked at them. They were too late. The weapon exploded. The electromagnetic pulse shot through the alien computer systems like lightning. Through a tree. In an instant, every screen in the control room went dark. The humming of the machines stopped. The great computer that had controlled thousands of ships fell silent, but the pulse did not stop there. It traveled through the quantum communication network, jumping from ship to ship across the entire alien fleet. Within seconds, every alien vessel was dead in space, their crews trapped inside powerless metal coffins. The pulse even traveled beyond the fleet, following the quantum connections to alien bases and worlds throughout their empire. Across the Tzingding galaxy, the technology that had held the alien empire together for 3,000 years simply stopped working. Outside the Eternal Dominion, the 17 surviving human ships watched in amazement as the mighty alien fleet suddenly went dark. Thousands of ships that had been firing their weapons just moments before now drifted helplessly in space. "My God," whispered Jake Morrison. "She did it. Maria actually did it." But the victory came with a terrible cost. Captain Maria Santos, the woman who had saved humanity and freed the galaxy, would never see her daughter again. She had given her life to keep a promise to a 7-year-old girl who was waiting for her mother to come home. The age of the alien empire was over. But first, the humans had a choice to make about what to do with their helpless enemies. The silence was strange. For the first time in hours, no weapons were firing, no ships were exploding. The space around Earth was filled with thousands of alien vessels, but they were all dark and quiet like sleeping giants. Jake Morrison looked at his tactical display and could hardly believe what he was seeing. 9,833 alien ships were drifting helplessly in space. Their weapons were dead. Their engines were cold. Their communication systems were silent. Only 17 human ships remained operational. "Sir, Kate," Sullivan said quietly, "we are receiving distress signals from the alien ships. Their life support systems are failing. Many of their crews will die within hours if we do not help them." Jake stared at the screen. These were the same aliens who had come to destroy Earth. They had shown no mercy when they attacked. They had planned to kill every human being in the solar system. Now, they needed help from the people they had tried to murder. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Captain Dan Phillips. His ship, the Intrepid, was barely holding together, but it was still flying. Jake thought about all the friends he had lost in the battle. Commander Carter was dead. Captain Rick Davis was dead. Captain Maria Santos was dead. Hundreds of good people had died defending their home. It would be so easy to leave the aliens to die in their powerless ships. It would be justice. It would be revenge, but it would not be human. "All ships," Jake said into his radio, "begin rescue operations immediately. We are going to save every life we can." The silence that followed his order was long and heavy. Finally, Captain Phillips spoke. "Sir, are you sure about this? These aliens just tried to kill us all." "Yes," Jake said. "I am sure we are not going to become murderers just because we won a battle." The rescue operation began within an hour. Human ships that could barely fly themselves went to help their enemies. Engineers who had been fighting for their lives just hours before now worked to repair alien life support systems. It was dangerous work. The alien ships were built differently from human ships. The air was wrong for humans to breathe. The gravity was too strong or too weak. Everything was designed for creatures that were taller and thinner than humans. But the humans kept working. They cut through alien metal with their tools. They shared their own air and water with aliens who had tried to kill them. They carried injured alien crew members to safety on human ships. Captain Phillips found himself working inside an alien battleship, trying to restart its life support system. The alien crew watched him work with expressions of confusion and wonder. They could not understand why their enemy was helping them. "Why?" one of the aliens finally asked in broken human language. "Why do you help us?" Phillips looked up from the machine he was repairing. "Because you need help," he said simply. The alien stared at him for a long moment, then it began to cry. Phillips had never seen an alien cry before. The tears looked just like human tears. The rescue operation took 3 weeks. Ships came from all over the human solar system to help. Cargo vessels became hospital ships. Mining ships became rescue boats. Even civilian ships joined the effort. Dr. Helen Foster was one of the first humans to work closely with the rescued aliens. She was a scientist who studied different forms of life. She had always wondered what aliens would be like, but she had never imagined meeting them under these circumstances. "They are not what I expected," she told Jake during one of their daily meetings. "They are not evil monsters. They are just people who were taught that violence was the only way to solve problems." The aliens told strange stories as they recovered from their ordeal. They spoke of an empire that had lasted for 3,000 years, built on fear and force. They described worlds where no one was allowed to question orders or think for themselves. Many of the alien species had been conquered by the empire hundreds of years ago. They had been forced to fight for their conquerors, even though they did not want to. Some of them had never even seen their home worlds. They had been born on military ships and raised to be soldiers. "We thought humans would be like all the others," one alien officer told Dr. Foster. "We thought you would surrender or die. We never imagined you would show us mercy." The alien officer's name was Zex, and he had been a commander in the enemy fleet. He was tall and thin with silver skin and large blue eyes. He had been trained to fight since he was a child, but he had never learned how to accept kindness from an enemy. "Your Captain Santos," Zex said to Dr. Foster. "She could have escaped after she destroyed our network. Why did she choose to die?" Dr. Foster thought about the question. She had a daughter. She wanted to make sure her daughter would grow up free and safe. Sometimes protecting the people you love means sacrificing yourself. Zex was quiet for a long time. "In our empire," he said finally, "parents give their children to the military when they are young. We are taught that loyalty to the empire is more important than love for family. But Captain Santos chose her daughter over everything else, even over her own life. That is what makes us human," Dr. Foster said. As the weeks passed, something unexpected began to happen. The rescued aliens started asking if they could stay with the humans instead of returning to their empire. They had seen something in human behavior that they had never experienced before: kindness to enemies, compassion for the weak, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. Commander Ben Wright was put in charge of talking to the alien leaders about what would happen next. He had been a diplomat before the war, someone whose job was to solve problems with words instead of weapons. "Your empire is broken," he told the alien commanders. "The pulse that destroyed your fleet also destroyed your communication networks across the galaxy. Your worlds are cut off from each other. Your government has collapsed." The alien commanders looked at each other with uncertainty. They had never lived without the Empire telling them what to do. "What happens to us now?" asked Zex. "That depends on what you want to happen," Ben said. "You can try to rebuild your empire the same way it was before, or you can try something new." "What do you mean by something new?" another alien asked. Ben smiled. "You can learn to live in peace. You can learn to solve problems without violence. You can learn to be free." The idea of freedom was strange to most of the aliens. They had lived their entire lives following orders from others. The concept of making their own choices was both exciting and terrifying, but some of them were ready to try. Admiral Lisa Brooks, who had been promoted after the battle, was given command of Earth's new exploration fleet. Her job was to visit the former alien worlds and help them rebuild their societies without the Empire's control. What she found amazed her. World after world was celebrating the end of the Empire's rule. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together for the first time. Planets that had been forced to send their young people to fight in alien wars were now focusing on education and art and science. "It is like the entire galaxy has woken up from a nightmare," Lisa reported back to Earth. Not everything was easy. Some alien worlds tried to build new empires of their own. Some species fought wars against their former allies. Some planets fell into chaos without the Empire's structure to hold them together, but many others chose a different path. They sent representatives to Earth, asking to learn about human concepts of democracy and freedom and individual rights. First Galactic Council meeting was held in Earth's orbit 6 months after the battle. Representatives from 47 different worlds came to discuss how they could work together without violence. Jake Morrison, now retired from military service, was chosen to speak at the opening ceremony. He stood before the assembled delegates, humans and aliens side by side, and thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, he said, "we were enemies. You came to destroy us, and we fought back with everything we had. Many good people died on both sides. We will never forget their sacrifice." The hall was completely quiet as Jake continued. "But today, we are not enemies. Today, we are neighbors in the same galaxy, trying to build something better than what came before. We have learned that strength is not about having the biggest weapons or the most ships. Real strength comes from being willing to help those who need help, even when they were once your enemies." He looked out at the audience, seeing humans and aliens sitting together, listening to the same words and sharing the same hopes. Captain. Maria Santos died to save her daughter and her world. But her sacrifice did more than that. It freed an entire galaxy from thousands of years of oppression. Her daughter Carmen will grow up in a universe where different species work together instead of fighting each other. Jake paused and smiled. That is the greatest victory any of us could ask for. The applause that followed was unlike anything ever heard before. Humans clapped their hands while aliens made musical sounds with their voices. Different species showing appreciation in different ways, but all celebrating the same thing, the beginning of a new age of peace. The 17 ships that survived the battle became the foundation of the Galactic Alliance. They were old and battle-scarred, but they represented something precious, the proof that a small group of determined people could change the course of history. Years later, children throughout the galaxy would learn the story of the Great Battle.